Coming up on Movie Buff this week, Julia Roberts makes her mini comeback in Duplicity. For Greg Kinnear, it's a return to the living in his new film Flash of Genius. And Matthew Horn and James Corden make their big screen debut in Lesbian Vampire Killers.
Blockbuster movies are about one thing and one thing only: dream teams, bringing together stars and a production team synonymous with being involved in hits. Duplicity is certainly one of them, with Hollywood's biggest leading lady, Britain's most charming male export, and a screenplay writer and director in Tony Gilroy, who can boast some of the biggest grossing films of the last decade on his CV.
Yeah, meeting like this.
Duplicity sees Julia Roberts and Clive Owen as former spies who rekindle a relationship riddled with trust issues to try and steal a fortune from under their now corporate bosses' noses. Cue further stellar names Paul Giamatti and Tom Wilkinson as their business leaders, and you have a range of acting prowess that is needed for a Tony Gilroy script that, as ever, twists from pillar to post, leaving the audience guessing.
Really great dialogue as good as this is really rare. You know, I'm sort of theatre trained. You know, going to work with great dialogue is where I'm at my happiest, because you're equipped to go to work. You know, you've got the equipment to go and really do what it is you do.
Tony had made a script for Clive and myself that maps it out chronologically, their relationship, because sometimes we'd turn up in a hotel room and I'd say, well, what city are we in and what year is it? And so it was nice to have that to rely on to know exactly the balance of our relationship, because it's such a little trick. Well, I've spent the last 14 months under...
But the dialogue is where this film suffers a thumbs down, and unfortunately, it's our own Mr. Owen who doesn't step up to the plate. Suave and cool as ever, but really failing to pull off the wits laced in the script, the relationship and chemistry between him and Roberts isn't believable.
I run field agents for a living. There's only two ways to do it. Either you bring them flowers or you hang them by their heels out of the window. Now, maybe you're so used to having your legs in the air you don't realise it, but you're upside down, sister.
The screenplay was originally written by Gilroy for Steven Soderbergh, and Duplicity has had a long history of near misses involving stars from Brad Pitt to Tom Cruise, and directors including Steven Spielberg. As a film, it is a great idea. It's also the type of movie we love to watch: entertaining, quick-witted, drama-filled, and with great names. Despite falling short of what multiple industry bigwigs thought this film could be, Duplicity is entertaining in an Ocean's 11 style, and it's great to see films like this being made and attracting huge names in the bargain.
Every major car company in the world was struggling to invent the intermittent windshield wiper. The solution...
Hey, Dad! Mom wants to know where the blender is.
It's down here! He's taking it apart!
The saying goes, never judge a book by its cover. So, while a film about windscreen wipers might not sound like a good night out, give Flash of Genius a chance and you'll be pleasantly surprised. It's the real-life David and Goliath story of Dr. Robert Kearns and his battle with the Ford Motor Company, who he accused of stealing his idea for the intermittent wiper.
It's not about money, this is about right and wrong, and you know it. For Pete's sake, you're my friend.
That's right.
Most recently seen on the big screen as a ghost alongside Ricky Gervais, the film stars Greg Kinnear, who says there's more to Dr. Kearns' tale than his ultimate victory.
Yes, he won the case, but you know, there was some real collateral damage done to his family and himself personally, which is, you know, a real cost. And at the end of the day, you know, this isn't about an intermittent windshield wiper as much as it is about a guy fighting for principle, because he felt like he needed to have them, Ford, acknowledge that what they had done was wrong.
Bob Kearns, winner of the wiper competition. Congrats. We're going to need a working unit from you.
There's 20 million cars.
Hollywood had wanted to tell Dr. Kearns' story for quite some time, and director Mark Abraham says the family took some convincing.
What happened was it just bought the rights to an article that was in the New Yorker, and by then Bob was getting quite old, and I was very persistent in talking to him and being on the telephone, constantly trying to convince him that we weren't intending to make a movie about how great the automobile industry was.
Hey! Oh, you see that car across the street?
Oh, yeah.
Look at the driver staring at me.
Flash of Genius is an emotional but heartwarming story which will give you a new appreciation for your windscreen wipers when caught in the rain, which will probably be very soon.
This is a great town for the intermittent windshield wiper, I can tell you that. There's no better town than this. So, Bob would have loved this market.
Morecambe and Wise gave us The Magnificent 2, Anton Deck served up Alien Autopsy, but what can we expect from Britain's newest comedy duo on the big screen?
Lesbian vampire killers.
Yep, the movie that, according to the tagline, has it all. After finding fame with Gavin and Stacey, their stint on the Brits, not to mention a sketch show, James Corden and Matthew Horn continue their bid for world domination with this spoof.
I think you could use a distraction, and you can say what you like about me, but you cannot deny I am incredibly distracting.
Some might say annoying.
Although it didn't come easy, as when it first came along many moons ago, it lost its funding.
There were points in the last 2 years where this film was just dead in the water. You know, it felt like, I certainly felt like, well, I thought, well, maybe we missed the chance to do it, you know. And then Steve Clark Hall, who produced the film, came on board. He was a brilliant producer, and it felt like he really grabbed the film by the scruff of his neck and said, we are going to get this film made. And that coincided with Gavin and Stacey starting to do better, and I guess us both becoming more well known, and then it was happening, and the money was there.
The plot really needs no explanation. But here's a quick one anyway. Lads go on weekend away, lads bump into busload of pretty girls, lads find out town is overrun by bloodsuckers. With its tongue firmly in its cheek, the adventure pays homage to Hammer films of yesteryear.
I was a fan of horror movies, and there was a moment when I was about 11, I think, and I watched The Omen 2, and of course The Lost Boys as well. This is a big movie for me, for our generation, my generation, I suppose. So it was good to be involved in something that married what James and I do with something that we don't do, but that I had an interest in.
Even the actresses starring as the ladies of the night thought it was a bit of a joke, though.
First, when we got the script, I think all of us we wanted to sack our agents, thinking they sent us porn. Yeah. But then once we'd read it, it actually wasn't brave at all. It was a bit of a no-brainer, don't you think?
And it was a fantastic cast. Yeah. You know, it was like Paul McGann on board.
Okay, so as the pair rightly point out themselves, it's not going to win any Oscars.
Listen, your friend's arrival in our hamlet today is no coincidence. It's divine intervention.
But there are more than a few cheap laughs.
Christ, that thing is rock solid.
The effects are decent, Horn and Corden are likeable, and all in all, it's pretty slick. So you can't really argue with a film that does exactly what it says on the tin.
Game.